Hi, Tom from the Dreamcast Junkyard here, and with this video I wanted to take a very brief look at something that's quite early in development but also quite promising. This is a game called Dungeon Ross, and as you can see on the screen now it looks a little bit like Gauntlet or something like that. It's quite an interesting little game. Basically the story behind this is that at the Global Game Jam 2016 in December, two guys, a guy called Ross Kilgareth and another guy, his friend Alistair Lowe, they basically came up with this idea for a kind of a dungeon crawler for the Dreamcast, and they created this in the space of a weekend. And at the time it was kind of announced on some Dreamcast fan sites and on the actual Global Game Jam website itself. And I did contact Ross and ask him if it would be okay to feature the game on the Dreamcast Junkyard, but he said that's fine, but we are going to be working on it a bit more and it might be better if you just wait a couple of weeks. So that's what I did, and then eventually he got in contact with me and then sent me a version of this game to actually play myself. The footage you're seeing here on the screen is actually recorded from a Dreamcast, just hooked up to my crappy little USB thing, and it's very early work in progress. You can see the frame rate is not amazing when there's a lot of enemies in the environments, but I thought for the culmination of a weekend's worth of work, it's quite promising. And as I say, the guys are actually working on it and trying to get more people involved to turn it into a full-blown game. So what you're seeing here really is a very basic kind of proof of concept, really, more than anything. As I say, it does need work because the frame rate does stutter when you get more than a couple of the enemies on the screen. Interestingly, it does have a two-player mode, so that's Ross and Alistair actually depicted in the game as little characters that you can play as. Again, you can see the frame rate there is suffering a little bit just because of the amount of enemies on the screen. There's no collision detection, and there's you can walk through most of the items in the environment. But it does look really cool, and I like the way the camera kind of zooms out when you move the characters apart from each other. The camera zooms out to take in the whole of the map that you're in. So that's a nice thing, really. And when this game becomes more of an actual game as opposed to just a kind of a proof of concept, I'd be interested to see how that ends up working. It'd be really interesting to see if they could actually get 4 players, in the environment all at the same time. Again, something like Gauntlet. But yeah, for the culmination of basically a weekend's worth of work and the subsequent weeks of whenever they get a bit of free time to do some programming or some work on this project, that they've got this running, and it runs really well on I say really well, quite well, on a basically a stock Dreamcast, just with a CDR. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's Dungeon Ross, and hopefully we'll see more of it in the future. Thanks for watching.